So tell us if you could see us. This hotel, for some reason, will not allow us, their Wi-Fi signal will not allow us to stream on YouTube. Hopefully you're seeing us now.
Yeah, I hope so. Gosh, that would be great. Well, here we are in Paris again, our spiritual home. Back again. This is our third hotel. You know, we're making a tour of hotels in different neighborhoods. This is something Stacy cooked up. We started up in a hotel in the 7th and 6th arrondissement near the Museum Dorsey. Then we went to a hotel near Arc de Triomphe in the 17th arrondissement. And now we're in the 8th arrondissement near Arc de Triomphe at another hotel. Lovely message, welcome message, plus all these welcoming gifts. Here we have two Madeleine.
Oh,
Delicious.
I thought those were financiers, and they were like setting, like, let them eat the rich.
Oh, you know what? You're absolutely right. These are financiers. They are financiers. It's different than a Madeleine. This is a little denser. It has more butter. So this is a financier, very delicious. They also sent over 4 of these macaroons, not to be confused with Macron, the president of France, but macaroons. It looks like we have pistachio. I think this is vanilla. And here could be raspberry. Could be a raspberry. We'll dig into those at some point. But of course, the obligatory bottle of Evian. Right here, gonna have some Evian water to wet my whistle.
So I see the comments coming in, so I guess including some rude French ones like enculé. No. This is rated PG episode on Facebook, you know. But I think the streaming quality looks pretty good on Facebook. For some reason, it just would not work on YouTube. I see people were there on YouTube when we were trying to go live, and mentioning that they could see it, that they could see something was trying to go live. But yeah, I'm going to eat the rich right now. I'm going to eat the financier.
Voila. Délicieux.
The thing about Facebook that's cool is it allows you to cross-post. So this is live streaming on our Kaiser Report, our Max Kaiser, our Stacy Herbert, and our Orange Pill podcast streams. So that's tens of thousands of people. Let's see actually how it goes. This could be a fortuitous accident that happens, you know, because YouTube is basically deplatforming a lot of people. But speaking of deplatforming, first of all, that's good. It actually has a bit of orange in it.
Oh, let me try.
So, and it fits perfectly with Orange Pill Podcast. But speaking of deplatforming, I have a situation where somebody found, I saw people starting to retweet a tweet of mine from 2013, where I was complaining about people hassling me because Bitcoin had fallen from $130 down to $108. And I was saying people are shrieking at me, and they're saying Bitcoin's crashed because it's $108 now. But I remember when it was $2. So a lot of people retweeted that, and lo and behold, guess who followed me?
Who?
Jack Dorsey.
What?
Right? He started following me, which I was like, immediately it felt like mom was following me, and or the feds or something. Like I felt like, uh-oh, is he going to deplatform me now if I say something rude or say something that's out of order?
Yeah, the timing of that was interesting. Somebody did find that tweet of yours from 2013 when Bitcoin was 100, had fallen from 120 something, and they were complaining to you because they were going to lose money, even though you had been talking about it and I had been talking about it since it was $2 and even $1. And then suddenly Jack Dorsey pops up and he's following you. So he's like, oh, Stacy's an OG that I should be following. So welcome, Jack. You know, we were into Bitcoin many years before you were. And Stacy is an OG, and so now you have a more thorough understanding of how Bitcoin works.
Well, you know, I'm not sure about that, but the point is, like, I do feel like a mom is following me, and I feel a little bit, I think a little bit more about how I tweet, just because mostly I'm concerned about being deplatformed, of like getting cut off there. I mean, look how hard it was to even start this in terms of being YouTube, when I was like, oh, because this is the way most people are online. They're censoring you.
Yeah.
Rather than just like a bizarre, crazy thing, maybe at this hotel, maybe they have YouTube blocked. I don't know. Like, it could be just anything. Even though we're not in like China or anything like that, the thing is, maybe they have YouTube blocked. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It's like China Light. But yeah, I blocked Jack Dorsey like 6 months ago. I just didn't like what he was tweeting. So I said, yeah, I'm just going to block Jack. And so I don't want the stress. I don't want the stress of having Jack look at my tweets, so I blocked him.
Well, there's that dorky woman, Chrissy Teigen. She's like this model woman who's married to a pop singer, John Legend. And anyway, she had that a few months ago where Joe Biden started following her, and she asked him to unfollow her because it was too stressful. Yeah. Like, she couldn't tweet properly, or, with all of her, her full spirit of trolldom. So
yeah, I don't want to be verified either, for the same reason. It's too stressful. Like, suddenly, oh, I'm verified, I better watch what I tweet. That's why I maintain multiple personalities on Twitter. I have many Max Kaiser
accounts. Just on Twitter?
Yeah, on throughout my life, but it's manifests on Twitter as well. And this way, there's no way to verify me because I don't want the responsibility or the stress. So I just tweet freely, and it's worked out for me. So I'm happy to continue that way.
Right. If you see me doing this, I'm just reaching up to the Facebook and looking at your comments. I don't have Facebook on my phone, so I can't look it up there. Like, usually while we're YouTube live streaming, I'm also looking at my YouTube here. But so
right.
You're over on Facebook. I mean, I suppose I should share this link over in the Telegram group too. And of course, I'll get a lot of people saying, I don't use Facebook or something like that. But I
think I have the Facebook app, but I haven't opened it in maybe 7 years.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure how it works. I never could understand how to use Facebook. It's too confusing. I like Twitter because it's just one column. It just goes down to one column. And you can mute people and you can block people. And it's pretty straightforward. But Facebook, there's so many different... I mean, I don't even know who I am on Facebook. There's a Max Kaiser page, and there's a Max Kaiser account, and then there's a fan page. I don't know what the heck's going on. I sound like Madge Weinstein. Maybe when I talk about Facebook, it reminds me of the time I used to be on Facebook, which is the time we used to do vlogging and podcasting with Madge Weinstein, the bloated lesbian. I follow her on Twitter. I don't think she's on Facebook. Where is Madge? We worked with Madge in Paris, practically lived with Madge in Paris. This was got to be 8 years ago? This was a long time ago. Long time ago.
Right. Well, people are saying, stop talking about this shit and start talking about Bitcoin. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, I guess Bitcoin fell down to $40,000. But the thing is, just like the $108 Bitcoin, you saw people were complaining to me back in 2013. Blah, 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 blah.
That's the point.
That's the point.
That's the point. It's always going to have these big pullbacks. It doesn't. You want the pullbacks.
You want them. You want them.
How else are you going to buy cheap sats if there's no pullbacks? If it just went straight up, you wouldn't have as many Bitcoin as you have today. The the pullbacks are God's way of kissing you with the opportunity of buying cheaper sats. Thank you, God. I read Jimmy Song's book, Thank God for Bitcoin. Chapter 3, I believe, is Thank God for pullbacks. Thank God for crashes.
Really?
No, I just made that up. But I feel like it should be in there. Maybe it is in there. I don't know.
What's happening to my hair in Paris? It's just like getting higher and higher.
Yeah, it's very Frenchified. It's like it's assuming the coiffure comme Marie Antoinette. Remember, she had all the bouffant,
true.
And it got higher and higher and higher as the people got more angry. And this is what happens to women's hair in Paris. That's why they very often will cut it very, very short, because it grows back like a weed because of the Marie Antoinette influence from many hundreds of years ago. And nobody wants to have that again. No, let them eat brioche or financier. It does have a bit of an orange taste, but it's an orange rind. You know, it's the rind of the orange. It's, you know, it has that slightly bitter quality, but light, very léger. Very nice, very nice. So Bitcoin price, yeah. It's down. I think it dropped below 40,000. And but price is really not anything to think about. You know, look at the hash rate is totally recovering post China, you know, banning or moving the miners out of China. You know, you had a 50% retracement in the hash rate. Now it's recovered more than half of what it lost. It's on its way to hitting new all-time hash rate. And then, you know, it's going to hit new all-time price. The hash rate's got to recover. It is recovering. You know, it's becoming more decentralized every single day, becoming more immutable, becoming a global monetary standard. What else about Bitcoin do people want to know? I am the Jesus of Bitcoin. No, what am I? The high priest. According to Michael Saylor, I am the high priest of Bitcoin. So what do people want to know about Bitcoin? I'm here in my natural element. As Louis the 15th designed a hotel en Paris with my financier. What do people want to know?
You know, general just talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now at 42,357. So it's up from the low. It went down to 40,000. People are complaining, blah, blah, blah. You know, again, Max and I always hold the Warren Buffett sort of position where we say, you know, we like discounts on the things we want to buy when he's trying to accumulate Heinz ketchup sort of stock. He gets happy when it's down 10, 20% because he prefers to buy it then. You know, Nayib Bukele wants to accumulate Bitcoin for his country. What did he do when it went down to $40,000? He was tweeting that he was able to stack more Bitcoin at $40,000, certainly more than when he bought it at $50,000 for the nation. So, you know, some people are happy if you're accumulating. If you're hoping to cash out, you know, and convert to fiat, well, then you're obviously not as happy if it falls right now, right when you wanted to cash out. Speaking of cashing out, you know, they always look for a reason why things are falling apart, right? And one of the reasons, two of the reasons given were Gary Gensler spoke, you know, he's the head of the SEC, and he was in front of Congress or giving his testimony about what he plans with the SEC and in terms of crypto. And he's saying the SEC is the regulator for crypto. There's obviously going to be a turf war there because the CFTC believes there's a commodity and that they get to, they're the regulator. Certainly for Bitcoin they are, because Bitcoin is an assets class, whereas it's not a security like all the other DeFi and the tokens and the pre-mines and all that sort of, all that, the farming stuff, the yield stuff, I don't know, all that stuff. Yeah, that's a security, right? And that's what Gary Gensler says, and he says he's going to start regulating it.
Right. Bitcoin is an absolutely scarce synthetic digital commodity. And if there is a regulator that is going to be looking at it, it would be the CFTC, the commodity regulator. Not Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler has no purview over Bitcoin. He should look at every single other altcoin because they're all unregistered securities, and he can go and regulate them as he should if he wants to do some regulations. The people who are nervous about Bitcoin price, you can tell who's into altcoins. People who are Bitcoiners, who have been in Bitcoiners and like to buy Bitcoin on the dip, love lower prices, and because they have 100% confidence in Bitcoin. If you're into the altcoins, and of course, altcoins only exist to steal Bitcoin, and altcoins only exist, they move with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin moves down a little bit, altcoins crash. So the people who are nervous about the Bitcoin price are altcoiners because they're the ones taking all the risk. So if you see somebody in your Twitter saying, oh my God, what Bitcoin price is going to be? That's an altcoiner. That's somebody who doesn't actually, that's not a Bitcoiner. If you're an actual Bitcoiner, you either A, like cheaper prices, or B, don't care. Like, I rarely look at the price.
Right. Just so you know, in the live comments, there's fake Max Kaisers. Obviously, Max is sitting here talking.
Right.
But for some reason, these like scammers think you're dumb enough to like, oh, that's also Max Kaiser simul live chatting, telling me that if I send him a Bitcoin, I'll send 3 back. So just so you know, those are just scammers.
Well, it's like Jesus, right? They had the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
So as I am the high priest of Bitcoin, or Jesus Bitcoin, there are these ghost-like phantoms out there pretending to be me. But Those are not to be trusted. Only trust the true one max, and you'll be fine.
Right. So hopefully somebody's sharing this link in the Telegram group. I mean, I did go to the Telegram group and I saw, of course, what I said would happen. I don't have Facebook. All these sort of things.
Right.
So, you know, the thing is Facebook worse than YouTube? You know, Facebook worse than Google? I don't know. You know, they're both pretty dodgy.
It's all the panopticon.
It's the panopticon. Well, you know, I don't see much difference between the two in terms of how you know, evil they are. Even Google got rid of their "Don't be evil."
Oh, they got
motto.
rid of it. That's right.
They used to call themselves. They used to say they were "Don't be evil." That was their motto to live by.
Yeah.
But they got rid of that.
Yeah. No, it says "Let's be evil." I think that's their new model. And well, the panopticon is up and running. You know, all these technology companies bleed over into one panopticon. I suppose Jack Dorsey is the best of the lot because he has a positive position about Bitcoin. Unlike Facebook, I guess they're negative about Bitcoin because they're trying to push their own coin, as it were. So they're clearly not good. But nevertheless, it is what it is. And if you own Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter because the energy required to run the Bitcoin network is, I just saw a projection that within a couple of years, it'll be going from 0.1% of global energy to 1%. Of global energy will be supporting the Bitcoin network. Remember, Bitcoin is a 51% attack on the world's energy supply. So that's going to go to 51% from 1%. And this is the thing about Bitcoin is that no other altcoin, not fiat money or gold, is going to eat electricity the way Bitcoin does.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. So Bitcoin is essentially defunding fiat money. It defunds the altcoins because the altcoins don't attack energy like Bitcoin does. Only Bitcoin does because it's the only truly decentralized, truly scarce, absolutely scarce synthetic digital commodity. And it eats energy and it's taking up all the energy. So it'll defund all the altcoins. It'll defund fiat. It'll defund gold. And that's what we want. So that energy grab by Bitcoin will continue. Now, net of global energy use, it doesn't mean that whatever the energy use is today, which is about 170,000 kilowatt hours per year, it doesn't mean that, okay, Bitcoin's going to increase that by another 50 or 60 kilowatt hours, thousand per year. It actually means as it defunds fiat money and it defunds gold and it defunds alts and it defunds fiats, actually global energy use will be cut in half or more. So we're actually, it's an incredible species savings evolutionary leap forward, Bitcoin, because even though it'll be 51% of actually the energy being produced will be used to mine Bitcoin, that'll be vastly less than the overall energy which is being used today to fund the fiat money, which is, of course, backed by violence, it's backed by war, it's backed by crookedness, and it's backed by criminality, and it's backed by bloated governments, and pretty much all the things we don't like about the world today is all enabled by fiat. So as Bitcoin defunds fiat, all the energy required to keep those things going will starve them of energy, and they will go away and naturally with that because they will die from having no energy. And that includes all altcoins. Say right. C'est la vérité.
Every time I go up here, Max stops talking. But I'm deleting the comments from the fake Max Kaisers. So
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's to delete those. Yeah, they're stupid. So the other thing I was allegedly, according to the headlines, you know, they're saying so Gary Gensler impacted the Bitcoin markets, and then they said that the news out of China impacted the Bitcoin markets. That Evergrande going bust or whatever, they're supposed to make their payment today, some sort of bond payment today. I think they actually made it. I guess they're getting bailed out by the government.
Well, I can jump in on there for a second. Apparently, because Wall Street banks are so invested in these Chinese property companies, Wall Street banks, with the money that America bails the Wall Street banks out with, the taxpayer, they're taking our money to bail out these Chinese property developers to save their own positions. So so American taxpayers are now not only bailing out all the Wall Street banks, but now bailing out Chinese property developers as well.
Right. So the word on the street is that in China, the Chinese government was not planning on bailing out Evergrande because there are other property developers as well. And part of the reason what's driving them at the moment, the Chinese government, is that, according to Wolf Richter, if you go to wolfstreet.com, is they are having, 1920 sort of robber baron era in the United States, late 1800s, with huge wealth and income gaps and extremely powerful titans and oligarchs of industry, right? So the Jack Ma's worth tens and tens of billions of dollars. So the leverage in the housing market and the prices going up so high was causing destabilization for the rising middle class. Anyway, so the government was kind of okay with property prices being the for sale. You saw Evergrande having to liquidate a lot of their portfolio at discount prices, right, to sell off properties to meet their bond payment. But apparently, people from Goldman Sachs, Blackstone, BlackRock, and several other major funds actually met with Chinese officials over the last few days. Whatever happened is the result of we saw today, the QE announced. They have $18.9 billion worth of repos given to the market to increase liquidity.
So these Wall Street banks have exposure to these Chinese developers.
Yeah.
And so they went to meet with the Chinese government, and they coordinated a meeting with the Fed Reserve, with Jay Powell and Janet Yellen, to launch another round of QE, effectively to bail out Chinese developers. So just like we heard the story about that General Milley, who was calling his Chinese general counterparts during the Trump administration and whispering in their ear everything that the American Pentagon was set to do strategically in terms of the Pentagon and any of our war preparedness. So now we've got Wall Street doing the same thing, calling up Chinese bankers and the government of China saying, whispering in their ear, we're going to do QE in America. We're going to send half of that over to you guys to bail out the property developers because our Wall Street guys are exposed. So pretty much I would say, I don't think there's much that China's not directly running at this point in the global, both finance and the geopolitical game. I think it's completely in their court now.
So I also heard that the European Central Bank, they have PEPP, which was some sort of COVID era deal, kind of like in the U.S. It was called PPP, and they had all these billions, tens of billions of dollars spread out to businesses across Europe. Well, that is due to expire, and you see the cliff of liquidity, free cash, free money would have disappeared. So I also saw headlines regarding that they want to perhaps have more QE, that they're going to need to have some QE or not taper their own Ponzi. So you definitely see a sort of VIX index. The volatility is returning. This is always people are kind of trained at this point because this is the time of year that we always have crashes, whether it's the 1929 crash or the 1987 crash or the 2008 crash. It all happens September, October, November. So I think, investors naturally get kind of jittery around this time. Mm-hmm. So it seems like everything's on a knife edge because this is also, remember Jay Powell and the Fed last month, a few weeks ago, they had insisted that they were going to start tapering from October 1st or something like that. So, a Kaiser report has maintained a position where this won't happen. Orange Pill Podcast here has also maintained that position for the past year. And we'll see.
They can't taper. They won't taper because all these banks are colluding. Nomi Prince wrote a great book called Collusion. I mean, they may do a 1/4 point raise in America, but it'll be accompanied by a 1/2 point or full point cut in Europe and a full point cut in China. So in aggregate, net on a global basis, there's never been any tightening of monetary policy now in 40 years, and there won't be until we have armed conflict. That's the only way we're going to resolve this. Typically, that's what we can. That's where we're headed. Bitcoin is the place to be. It's the only uncorrelated asset. It's unconfiscatable, and it's immutable, and it's mathematically guaranteed to increase in purchasing power over time. Whereas all fiat money is mathematically guaranteed to lose purchasing power over time. Gold is guaranteed to maintain purchasing power over time, but it's not going to go up or down. It's just going to hang out there. But fiat, we know, will without any question, lose purchasing power. So you're only left with one option, and that would be Bitcoin. And because it's making a 51% attack on the world energy supply, that means that all altcoins, fiat money, gold, property, everything is going to be debased or defunded relative to Bitcoin.
Right. Oh, there's the fake Max Kaiser again. Like, do people still fall for this? This is the thing, is like, you know, speaking of Bitcoin, so El Salvador, as you know, now has like 700 Bitcoin. It looks like we will be going to El Salvador for the November events. There's a few different events happening there at, you know, mid to late November. So it looks like all the Bitcoiners of the world will be heading that way, or certainly many of them. What do you think of that, Max?
That's exciting. You know, El Salvador is now the rebirth of democracy and freedom in the world. The democratic principles, I should say, are the rights of man, or natural rights, or freedom as in the social contract as it's expressed. And so naturally the world is gravitating toward this very exciting place and this very exciting country. You know, I want to ask you this. I want to put this point forward.
To me or to the audience?
Well, I guess to you and the audience.
Okay.
And
okay.
I want to open this up as a point of discussion. I'm genuinely, you know, curious about what the thoughts are about this, because I've seen this on Twitter and social media, this discussion. So getting to El Salvador, you have two things happening simultaneously. You have a government that's made Bitcoin legal tender, and Bitcoin is loved by human rights groups because it's a currency of freedom, and you can do stuff with it, like with, and human rights groups love it. Simultaneously, these same groups are looking at what the president of El Salvador is doing, and they're saying, well, you know, this actually seems counterproductive, or counter a freedom agenda, a counter democratic agenda. And they can't seem to square the circle. They can't seem to wrap their mind around it. I have my thoughts on this, but I'm wondering what do other people think about this?
Bitcoin's on its own vector, right? And you know, so we've talked about the living organism that is Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin was $1, $5, $10, $100, everybody, even the brightest minds, the Bitcoin core devs, you know, Gavin Andreessen, Matty Malmy, we've talked about it. They had faucets where all you had to do was give them a Bitcoin address and they would send you 5 Bitcoin, right? So were they just imbeciles and morons? Or was that what Bitcoin did, right? It tricked these people into thinking, it's so easy to get a Bitcoin, right? You just have to turn on your computer. There were no ASICs back then, not even GPU. You could just mine it on your laptop. How, you know, just give it away, share it. You know, it's so easy to get some more. Well, Matty Malmy has no Bitcoin now. He gave away 30,000. And Gavin Andreessen, who knows how many, some say he gave up to 18,000 away. That's just exactly how evolution works. That's how, you know, the symbiotic relationships between some parasites and some big creatures, a whale will have like all sorts of things living on it in a parasitical relationship, but it's symbiotic as well. Like it's all these things eating all the bacteria off this giant body. Like it's obviously, it can't scratch its back, right? So the barnacles, all these sort of things like grow on it and provide services in a way. And Bitcoin does the same thing through its life cycle. It tricked people early on to spend it and to spread it, and which created like a fair distribution. for people around the world all got access to Bitcoin, because otherwise, had Gavin Andresen, had Malti Malmi kept those 30,000 Bitcoin, had Gavin Andresen kept the 18,000 that he gave away, like those wouldn't have been, that probably went to tens of thousands of people, all of that stuff, right? Because, you got 5 free Bitcoin, and then what do you do with free Bitcoin? You're like, well, I'm going to buy an iPhone with it, right? Because it's like, so you're spreading it around. It just keeps on spreading wherever. Mm-hmm. And now on the nation state level, you're doing the same thing. Is like, right now, everybody in Europe and everybody in the United States has free money, abundant, free cash from the Fed, from the central bank. You're paid to stay home. And why bother with getting a job? Let the rest of the world have brioche, right? And you're just, you're thinking these good times will last. Well, these countries like Iran, like El Salvador, like China, like all those ones that are like enemy nations or like outside that core ally group, and even France found out this week they're not an ally of the United States, right? So the thing is, like, it's once they've realized out of necessity that they might be cut off from the dollar grid, then it's natural that the dictators or the bad guys will be first, just like it was in Bitcoin. Out of necessity, the porn industry, the drugs and illegal online drugs, illegal online gambling, those are the first adopters of Bitcoin in the individual space. And now in the nation state level, it's going to be people who are the equivalent of those individuals that first got involved. They're going to be the equivalent.
Right. Well, a few points. So the people who are into Bitcoin, even going back to 2009, 10, 11, all the way up to the block size wars of 2017, a lot of the early adopters and a lot of people who were buying Bitcoin didn't necessarily know much about the true purpose of Bitcoin, the philosophical underpinnings of Bitcoin, and where Bitcoin was headed. And so that's kind of interesting, because people think they're too late to Bitcoin. Well, it's just getting started. It's very, very early yet in Bitcoin's life. And, it's just now starting to come into focus what this is all about and what's happening. And so we have the example of those early folks. And what you're describing there is kind of like taxioplasmosis. It's like you get into Bitcoin, and it can cause, as I always say, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. So these folks, it did change them. Some of them changed and they bounced out. They bounced out of Bitcoin community. Mm-hmm. Some of them were ennobled and became saint-like because of Bitcoin. It changed them in a positive way. And we see that process happening all the time right now. Some people have Bitcoin derangement syndrome, and they hard fork Bitcoin, and they go down and they become trolls living under bridges, shouting at people. And some people are becoming greater than the sum of the individual parts of their personality, right? It's becoming greater than, moving toward greatness and evolutionary brilliance. So that's still going on, and it's still happening. In the case of El Salvador, my take is that the president of El Salvador, the Bitcoin is creating incredible positive change, including at the presidential level, the president's office. But I think the president is savvy enough to know that he's still working under the thumb of the U.S. dollar, right? And he still he read John Perkins' book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He knows that Gary Gensler and a lot of people are not happy about all this, the Fed and various central banks, and they're going to go headhunting for people in the industry, corporations. I see a lot of high-profile corporate names into Bitcoin are being attacked and smeared now by select press outlets. So I think that to harden the shell of this country against the United States and the U.S. dollar, I don't think that's not necessarily a bad idea. To help create a place of safety, a safe harbor for Bitcoin. You still have to put up your moats. You still have to keep out the economic hitmen who are for sure got their sights on El Salvador, without a doubt. So you still have to be aware of that. Don't be naive and thinking, well, we have Bitcoin now, everyone's shitting lollipops and rainbows, and let's all join hands and sing Kumbaya, and there's never going to be a down day ever again. No, the fight is just beginning now. This is just the beginning of the big fight at the sovereign level. So now we see this. So I think it's shrewd, in my opinion. That's how I see it. That's my take.
I kind of feel like it's going to be safety in numbers, and you already see a lot of billionaires buying it. You see nation states buying it. Ukraine is about to make it legal tender as well. Apparently, they passed a law decriminalizing it or whatever. I don't know what the language is in that law, but the claim is that it will be legal tender by 2023. You're going to have other nations as well do the same thing. You're going to have Nigeria probably have to take it to that level because their people are using it, and it's helping their economy, right? Because Nigeria is, as we've covered, a very, very not entrepreneurial economy. They have a lot of import-export sort of businesses, and so if they can't access dollars, you got to allow your people to access the international money grid. The Naira is not accepted by traders, the exporters in China or Japan, but they'll accept Bitcoin. So you've got to allow it's a matter of survival, right? For somebody like a nation like Nigeria. It's not like Nigeria is cut off from the US dollar grid, but it's just access to dollars, especially during these sort of financially, the pandemic sort of times.
Absolutely correct. Agree entirely. Safety in numbers. The number of users is growing exponentially. All the what you might call fundamentals of Bitcoin are improving every single day. Price is the last thing that's important. The only people concerned about price are shitcoiners who are nervous that they're riding in a little rowboat next to a cruiser. Bitcoin is this huge cruise ship that's going forward, and it ripples a little bit. And every shitcoin are these little rowboats next to it, and every little time the cruise ship moves a little bit, the rowboat, we're gonna sink. They're nervous. What's the cruise ship gonna do? Well, the way to just get rid of the shitcoin, own Bitcoin, and chill.
So it's important actually that there are lots of losers. So that's the way markets work, right? Not everybody can be a winner, right? You've got to have losers to finance the winners. So when people panic sell, like how else are you going to get Bitcoin, right? Like it's not 2010 or 11 anymore. It was easy to get Bitcoin in 2011, 2012 from your laptop or like a GPU miner. Like you didn't need an ASIC. You didn't need hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment or millions of dollars worth of equipment to get Bitcoin. Or, there's just not as much Bitcoin available to buy as there was back then. I mean, look at Michael Saylor having to MicroStrategy over the course of a year and a few months, like timing of trying to get 100,000 Bitcoin, where back in 2010 and 11, Mati Malmi was spreading it around like easily.
Yeah, when you see the president of El Salvador rubbing his hands and grinning because he bought 100 Bitcoin. If you've been around since 2011, 100 Bitcoin used to cost $100.
Yeah.
So you're like, huh? 100 Bitcoin? Whoop-de-doo, pal. Big whoops on that. But there it is. The price is moving higher. And, of course, it's moving up 10x from here to get compatible with gold, and then another 10x from there.
Oh, that light in the background is kind of flickering. I'm going to go turn
cool.
it off. I'm going to go turn that off.
It's like a disco light.
See what it looks like. It's just the way frequencies work. Max will keep talking to you.
Oh, thank you. I would like to continue with this conversation right now. Do you out there in the audience suffer from shaky leg syndrome? Well, here at Dr. Schlaffen Fischen, we've got the cure for shaky leg syndrome. Yes, the treatment is very inexpensive at the clinic. Come to our clinic and we will cure you of shaky leg syndrome. You'll be cured in less than 2 weeks. Here in Switzerland, we have a beautiful resort next to the lake. Come and get cured. And thank you, Dr. Schlaffen. And now back to Stacy.
Right. Well, we have a few moments before we wrap this up. You know, this is our Facebook experiment live. Usually, you know, we're on YouTube, and you know, there's many hundreds of people on there. YouTube doesn't have these live stream scammers in the comment section. YouTube, by the way, doesn't look as good. The video quality is not actually as good as it is on Facebook, bizarrely, but there you go. But nevertheless, Facebook is a little bit more difficult to try to get all the scammers and the fakes and the imposters there down and get away from them. We just did a special on Facebook on Kaiser Report, the most recent one, about that X-Check program, about the special privileges, X-Check Your Privilege it was called, the special privileges for the elite who have their own separate social justice system, whereby, by the way, it matches with all these like Democratic mayors, all these sort of Democratic politicians going to events without masks on, making sure you know, all these students, you see the students at universities across America, like 100% vaccinated because they're not allowed at these universities like Stanford or USC, University of Southern California. They're not allowed on campus without a vaccination. And yet they also have to wear masks, even when they're eating, and take their mask off to put the bite in their mouth and put it back on. And there's like almost zero death. I mean, I suppose you're not allowed to talk about this on social media, but there's almost zero deaths among that age group, and they're vaccinated. So, and yet all of these politicians are walking around without their face masks on. We have these two-tier justice system.
Yeah. Isn't this the plot of Hunger Games? I never saw that movie, but I understand this is the plot, that the youngsters are out there fighting for survival in the jungle, and the crazy-haired elites are sitting back, sipping tea, and being amused by it all. I believe is the plot.
I don't know. I've never seen it, but it does sound like it. Yeah. So you know, we've been going for 45 minutes. It's flown by. This has been fun to do this with you on Facebook, whoever you people are, because you know it's a whole different crew of people there. Nobody from our Telegram group, except for Paco, is in the room because he's the only one with a Facebook account. Everybody else is refusing on principle.
He knows how to work stuff.
Paco knows how to work stuff.
Yep.
So, but we are in this new hotel for some reason that does block YouTube, which is a very bizarre thing to do.
Maybe too many YouTubers showed up.
I very much doubt that. But the cool thing is like the last hotel we were at, they for some reason, like we have this light here, but for some reason it's on battery and you have to charge it up. For some reason, the cleaning lady every time she came in, she unplugged it, so it never charged. Like every time, and I kept unplugging it back in, and then she would unplug it. So next time we'll have it all charged up. But I don't think we could do a live stream until we get back to America because
no, it's easy for me. No more work.
No more work. Right. So, yeah, thanks for joining us here on Facebook. And sorry about that stupid fake Max Kaiser. I mean,
he's okay.
He's so stupid. It's just like our audience are not imbeciles, right? Oh boy. I think I have to end this myself. Usually, you know, we use this Ecamm Live and I could do with remote and blah blah, but no. But you know, either be happy that you could stack more sats because the price is down, or just, you know, sell somebody your Bitcoin. Just get rid of your bags. Go away. You know, just unburden yourself of all this sweet Satoshis.
Exactly. Good advice. Our dollar cost average is swanbitcoin.com, and you just hit the dollar cost averaging button and then never think about it ever again. You just automatically stack sats, and your mind and emotion is no longer involved. You just stack sats. I set it up. I forgot I set it up. I get once a week I get an email, you stacked with Swan. I'm like, Jesus, I forgot about that. But nevertheless, it keeps stacking. You know, why not? You know, that's fine and dandy. I'm happy to stack. Keep stacking. That's the way to go. Stack it, stack sats. That's swanbitcoin.com. That's the way to be.
I will interject and say it's swanbitcoin.com/orange pill. And you get $10 worth as soon as you sign up, $10 worth of sats. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.